Perfect. So good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm going to make my screen a little bigger here. All right. Okay, fantastic. So I'm glad that some of you guys are actually back. And for the new people, I hope you're going to enjoy this session. And I hope you can hear me clearly and that you can also see me clearly. So I'm going to start this webinar this morning and talk about skills audits. You are welcome to share your questions as they come up on the screen with me. And I will, at the end of the session, I will address it with you. Okay, there we go. So, all right. Okay, perfect. So my name is Cecilia Denton, and I'm an industrial psychologist, and I'm the owner of PTES Consulting. So we are psychometric assessment specialists, and we provide HR support together with HR Talk. Included in this is skills audits that we will be discussing today. So I guess there's a reason why you logged in to learn a little bit more about this. And I'm glad you did, because you need to know what you're doing before you embark on something like this. So today will just help you to do the right thing when it's the time. Okay, so what we will be talking about, background and context to psychometric testing, benefits of psychometric assessments and skills audits. So you'll see that we combine the two. I do know there are places, companies that do skills audits without a scientifically reliable way, which I think is going to be a different type of problem because it's vague. So we do include the psychometric testing part. That's what we will talk about. Then we will talk about the definition of a skills audit, the aim of a skills audit, the benefit of a skills audits for you, benefit of a skills audit even for your staff, the assessment methodology. I think you'll find this incredibly interesting. Psychometric assessments that can be used. And then another very interesting part will be the stratified systems model. So that is Elliot Jark stratified systems model. If you Google it, you'll find a lot of information on this. For the HR people, most of them will know about it already. It's just a very nice system or model that you can make your skills audits applicable to or work from. And then a benchmark for a skills audit. So let's look at the background and context to psychometric assessment. So, of course, we know that talent fit has become a crucial component for business success. Hiring or developing the wrong people can be detrimental to your business. So, skills audits are conducted with psychometric assessment together with performance data, qualifications, years experience, and more. So, you never want to do things in isolation. That's when you will run into problems. I always tell people that with years and years of experience, I've found that someone can be cognitively incredibly strong, but the attitude is not great. Or the attitude is great and the cognitive is maybe sort of moderate, but we can work with that. So you need to take a holistic approach to this. So these are the next things that I'm going to talk to you about are things that you probably already know, but I just like to reiterate it. So the cost of a bad hire in South Africa is estimated at 5 times the annual salary of the employee. 36% of organizations state that a bad hire negatively impacts employee engagement and culture. And the last 1 year, 10 billion has been lost in terms of productivity costs due to labor unrest in South Africa in 2014. Now, these percentages and costings are estimates because you can almost not even calculate the bad effect or the impact that someone's negativity or even incompetence has on the rest of the team. Oh, great. And then the benefits of the psychological assessment. So firstly, if you do use psychometric assessment, you at least know it's a scientific and predictive method of assessing talent fit. It allows for fair discrimination based upon the job requirements. It saves cost. It saves time and cost during the selection process, and it enables seamless integration of talent processes across the employee's life cycle. So this is how you start. This is how you get the best people into the company. And the skills audit will be looking at what it is that you already have. Okay, so this is the definition of a skills audit. So a skills audit is a process of measuring and recording the skills of individuals or groups of employees. The term skills audit and training needs analysis are often used interchangeably, but there is a difference between the two. So a training needs analysis focuses solely on whether employees have the skills and the knowledge to perform well in their existing roles, while a skills audit takes a broader perspective of the skills needed by the organization, both at the present time and in the future. So that's a little bit more about the organization. It's about what do we need. And I think in the times that we are right now today, that is very important. What do you need to survive? Right. Okay. Training needs analysis aim to identify what training and development are needed, but a skills audit looks to identify skills that exist within the workforce but are currently unrecognized or unused. That is the other thing is also sometimes why people leave an organization is because they don't feel like there's an opportunity for them to grow or they're not being recognized or seen. But if you know who you have and what they can contribute, you can use them in the future. You can use them right now or in the future. Or you can prepare them for something that you have for the future. So skills audits are often undertaken at times of change when requirement for existing skills is in decline and new skills will be needed for the future. We're in a massive time of change right now. So it would be good in the period of time that we are now to see what it is that you've got and what do you need, because the needs of business has changed dramatically. And that is what we are seeing at the moment. We're doing quite a lot of, interestingly enough, small skills audits for smaller companies. So we've got a lot of small little skills or mini skills audits, if we can call it like that. So don't think you can only do a skills audit in a very large organization. You can also do it in small companies for up to only 10 people. So really you can do this in any type of company. The aim of skills audits is to identify the existing set of skills within the organization and the skills and knowledge the organization will need in the future. So often what employees may have to offer can lay hidden because organizations simply do not know how to access or harness it. You don't really know always because you employ someone for a specific position. You actually don't know what else is going on there. Maybe they've got a different interest or a knowledge about something or a hidden talent that you don't know about. Skills audits are often undertaken at times when organizations need to restructure its business or refocus its strategy and direction, exactly what is happening in a lot of companies right now. For example, technological developments may mean that certain skills are no longer needed, but new ones will be required. Similarly, a decision to expand by embarking on a new business line will also call for new areas of expertise. But you can also look at, if you want to expand or change, what do you have? Who can maybe take on additional responsibility or change or whatever, or move around? So you want to see what you've got before you implement your strategy. So skills audits should not be seen as a once-off exercise, but rather as an ongoing exercise. It's not a once-off. You want to constantly look at what it is that you've got and you will obviously keep records of what it is that you looked at and see whether you can build on that. So it's an ongoing process which is centrally placed within an organization's training and development and talent management functions. It is important to understand that there is little value in undertaking a skills audit without first thinking about why it is being undertaken, how it will be conducted, and how the results will be used. So that is very important. Why it's been done, how it will be conducted, and how the results will be used. All right, so it's also vital to consider how the skills audit relates to work already carried out in the context of annual performance appraisals and training needs analysis so as to avoid duplication. So absolutely do it in the context of annual performance appraisals and training needs analysis. So because you can use the same information for the same thing. All right, so now let's look at the benefit of a skills audit. So although the practice of skills auditing has been criticized for being overly bureaucratic, and the process can be complex and demanding, if carried out with sensitivity and selectivity within a well-planned program that is carefully maintained, skills audits can enable managers to gain a clear understanding of employees' skills and abilities, take advantage of previously unidentified skills in the workplace, redeploy employees to roles where they are better placed. Very, very important. We've tested people before, and then we realized that the receptionist has actually got some aptitude and a big interest in marketing, things like that. So really see what it is that you've got before you redeploy. Assign the right people to the right projects, identify any skills gaps or areas of strengths and weakness within the organization. Demonstrate commitment to the job satisfaction and career development of employees, and plan for more effective recruitment and development activities. And also, it is very important, and a lot of people only see this, when we only talk positive in the sense of we're going to assess people and move them upwards and give them more responsibility and do all these weird and wonderful things. You also want to make very sure that you do not set people up for failure. That's where you need to know whether someone has got the learning potential to take on more responsibility or be moved forward or wherever. It's happened a lot in my experience where someone has a brilliant salesperson or someone in a lower level position that shows incredible accountability and reliability, but the capacity or the ability to work with more complex information is just not there. And then that person they get moved to a higher position, they get a higher salary, they get benefits, whatever, but they do not function well in the higher position. So that's why it's very important to look at what it is that you've got, and you include your learning, your future learning potential, to see whether the future development will actually be successful. So that is part of your skills audit. We don't just assess people and then shovel them around. It's depending on the actual real ability. That is very, very important. All right, so let's look at the benefits of skills audit for staff. So it's not just for the organization. It's wonderful for the organization, but it's also good for employees to go through testing and assessments and things like that, but then get feedback. So the benefits for individual employees include better use of personal skills, leading to greater job satisfaction. So once again, this could be a benefit, but don't set people up for failure by putting them in a position where they don't even know that they cannot handle the responsibility or the complexity of it. Here is where I'm going to discuss with you later, where the stratified systems model come in, where you can actually determine, can I move this person upwards or laterally or whatever? So then you are covered. Then you at least know, if I make a move, I have a high likelihood of success. You don't want to increase your risk. That is exactly what you do not want to do, because you actually want to do better for your organization right now. All right, so you can get a greater job satisfaction if you use people's skills. More varied work, as employees from different departments are brought into cross-functional teams. People sometimes like that. You will also be able to see who does not like variety, who doesn't want to be moved wherever. But some people actually like it to learn more by moving into different directions. Okay, so more opportunities for promotion as suitable. In-house candidates will be more easily identified. So actually, even if you do succession planning or promotions, things like that, you're going to be making use of your own people. You don't have to recruit from the outside. You are going to use the people that you actually already know. Okay, so this would be our assessment methodology. All right, so look at right at the top here, assessment. So firstly, you can do assessment for recruitment and selection. And secondly, assessment of current staff for skills auditing purposes or personal development. So this is what you can look at. You also do not have to do all of this. So firstly, this would obviously be a perfect approach to a skills audit, but you can also only do maybe 2 or 3 of these. So in this case, we look at integrity assessment, cognitive assessment, personality assessment, and leadership assessment. You can get away with only a cognitive and a personality. If you want to put in leadership style, you can also do that. That would obviously depend on time, it would depend on budget, all of that. But in a perfect world, you can actually use all of these assessments. So when it comes to the integrity, you can determine ethical and work behaviors. You can also look at comprehensive organizational attitude profile. So that would cover all the integrity aspects. from honesty, dishonesty, following rules and regulations, following policies and procedures. Your cognitive assessment, firstly, you want to determine the work level based on the stratified systems model. So there's 2 assessments that can show you the person on the stratified systems model, and that is the CPP and the COPAS. So you can use either one of them. The CPP is a little bit more comprehensive. It costs a little bit more, but the COPAS is about a 2-hour-long assessment. The CPP is maybe 3 to 4 hours. The COPAS is maybe 2 hours. It will also give you a whole bunch of sub-constructs that's being measured, but it's going to also plot you on the stratified systems model. And the stratified systems model, I'm going to explain to you a little bit further down the line. And it is very, very important actually to do this, because you want to determine whether a manager is on managerial level, an executive, are they on executive level, or an entry-level person, are they on entry level? So it is very important. We'll go into more detail about that now, but that can actually make or break your business. So it's very, very important. Most companies that don't work out is because maybe very senior executives are in a slightly lower level that they're supposed to be, and that level goes hand in hand with work experience and growth. So it's very, very important. Furthermore, you look at the cognitive functioning. So the CPP and the COPAS can also show you the cognitive functioning. It's going to break it down: numerical reasoning, analytical reasoning, original, creative thinking, all of that. And then also mental capacity, how I am literally here today. That's my main mental capacity, how I will approach a problem right now today. And then future learning potential. Now, that is another very important thing if you want to develop people. If you want to see on the stratified systems model, my candidate is here today, but they've got the future learning potential to go to this level, which actually then tells you there's quite a big chance of them being successful in the next level. You don't want to move someone who's going to struggle at that level and not be successful. It's going to waste time and money, but the effect that it will have on the rest of the team is, we spoke about that earlier, it sometimes cannot even be calculated. So the cognitive assessment that you do, it does not have to be long, it doesn't have to be expensive, but you want to have these things that I mentioned here. It has to have that in it to be effective, and it is not that expensive. So find out more, get your information ready before you just test. And then the personality assessment. So the personality assessment, I will show you later on in this presentation what it is that we use, but you can use any type of personality assessments as long as it shows you comprehensive technical behavioral information, and it must predict some sort of behaviors, like, for example, what is the time management in general look like? What is the person's proactivity? All those type of things you want to be able to measure in this personality assessment. So it's not a crystal ball. It's not going to show you exactly precisely what to expect, but it will pick up behaviors that's linked to competency in the workplace, and then also how will they fit in the culture and the rest of the team. That is the big thing that we often overlook, because someone can be competent, but if they can't work with other people, if they are totally self-centered, if they're not amenable, accommodating, if they are highly confrontational, whatever, it's not going to work. So you want to have a good comprehensive personality assessment. Once again, it doesn't have to be that expensive. I'll show you what we use. And then the last one here is the leadership assessment. So here we look at leadership preferences, leadership styles, team profile, subordinate styles, coping, and management style. So here you can use something like the 15FQ, you can use the OPQ, you can use any of those, and you can get the best one for you. We like to use the 15FQ. The 15FQ gives you a total personality profile with all the preferences, like leadership preferences, styles, the influencing style, all of that, plus a little bit of a breakdown of the personality as such. As well. So you can perhaps only do one of the two, the leadership assessment or the personality, but I would definitely, if the budget is very limited, I would do all of this for very senior management, and I would scale it down. So the lower down I go for the employees, because you just want to do leadership assessment with your leaders, with your the rest of the staff a comprehensive technical personality is suitable, it's fine. The nice thing about, for example, the co-pays, the CPP you want to do for your senior people, but the co-pays you can do with everyone. You can do, it's not that expensive. You can do that from lower level to very, very high level across the board. You'll get the same information. Everyone will be assessed extremely fairly and objectively because it's got that learning potential and it's unbiased and it's language and culture free. So there you'll save, it will just make your process much, much, much easier. All right, and then furthermore, let me just move my camera out of the way here. So firstly, you want to create a competency profile against which the candidate will be compared to. So when you do recruitment or when you do assessment for personal development or whether you do a skills audit, you create a competency profile against which the candidate can be compared to for a specific position. And then after assessment, create an individual report with a competency match. So you're going to take the job profile and match the candidate against it. And then you're going to create a universal benchmark for various positions that indicates competency profiles for employees. And then you can even create a complete puzzle or a map indicating what the organization should be looking for. So you can do quite a lot with your information. You can really, really do a lot with it. All right, so let's look at the psychometric instruments. So now I'm going to keep it very simple. I'm going to show you an example of only using the two assessments. So firstly, let's look at a behavioral part and secondly, the cognitive part. So for behavioral, what we use is the personality at work. That's a very comprehensive technical assessment. And the cognitive assessment, we like to use the cognitive and potential assessment, which is the COPAS. But like I said, here you can play around with different types of personality tests, but it depends on what you're looking for. So you can combine the personality at work with something like the OPQ or the 15FQ. For maybe your senior management, you can even replace the COPAS with something like the CPP or whatever. But those tests will be sufficient. It is suitable. You don't have to research yourself to death in order to get the best answer. We've got a handful of things that's very easily accessible in the market in South Africa that you can use. You don't have to have deep, weird, and wonderful things. These things are sufficient. So now I'm going to show you an example. So firstly, let's look at the competencies that the personality at work measures. So it measures things like ambition, energy, drive, and results driven. Are the person process driven or results driven? How would they actually manage their process? Do they want to be in the process or rather complete things? Rule following. Are they investigative in nature? Entrepreneurial orientation and sales. So here you also look at the flexibility. Will they be able to see opportunities? The risk-taking, interpersonal skills, communication skills, empathy and emotive involvement at work, ability to handle rejection. Let's look at teamwork, facilitative, supportive, amenable and accommodating. So those things are all looking at how do I work in a team, how do I function well in a team, conflict management, assertiveness, confidence, self-reliance. We look at dependability, responsibility, and obviously my favorite, accountability. And that's all the interpersonal things that a person will do themselves, so without the team. So ability to produce stable performance output, decision making and willingness to implement. That's that, of course, the decisiveness, the self-reliance on my own decisions, autonomy, delegation and resource management, leadership and management style, influencing and team style. We also look at the subordinate style. We also look then at the whole stress management component, resilience, emotional intelligence, the trust, all of that emotional components in the in the teams. So this is what we use. This is only a few that I actually plotted down here. It's not the whole assessment because there's actually a little bit more. But we use this to create a competency model for what it is that the client needs. So firstly, the client will tell us what it is that they need for the job role, and then we will look at what it is that we can measure that will fit the candidate into what the job role requires. So this will guide us in terms of what it is that the organization needs in the organization. So every single job role in your organization can be well-defined beforehand, before we test the individual. Now let's look at the cognitive and potential assessment. So this particular one will look at mental alertness. So we are looking at the current mental alertness for the candidate today, on the mental alertness that they are right now at this current moment, my sharpness, my judgment of accurate information right now, because if I can judge it accurately right now, I can actually make decisions and implement from there on forward. We look at analytical and logical reasoning and problem solving. We look at numerical ability and the orientation in problem solving. So very much cause and effect. Original, creative, and intuitive thinking in problem solving. We look at spatial relations and concept formatting in problem solving. Interestingly enough, that spatial relations and concept formation has been linked to leadership capability. So strong leaders have this. It's very, very abstract, and it's very, very difficult. Alertness to detail and perception. So that would also look at the attention to detail with which they work through the assessment. So this assessment is very interesting because there is an attention to detail exercise in it, but it will also tell you how the person completed the actual whole test. Was it in general fast and not as accurate, or fast and accurate, or was it accurate or whatever? So it's going to give you combinations of things. You can make quite a lot of assumptions based on that, because that is how they will be in the workplace. Very important information. We will also look at future learning potential, very important. So if your ability test doesn't have the future learning potential in it, do it as a separate test. The LPCAT is a separate, also a pattern-based test that only looks at learning potential. It looks at where I am today and where I can go to, but it only looks at that. The COPAS integrates everything, the reasonings plus the learning potential. So that's why I like to give my clients something that's got everything in it already. And then very importantly, we can plot the individual on the stratified systems model with this test. So you'll get a score out of 1 to 5. I'm going to show you the whole graph a little bit later in the presentation and tell you how that works. So just know that from the COPAS as well as the CPP, you can get a plotting for the individual on the stratified systems model. All right. Okay, here is the graph that I've been talking about now. So very, very, very simple. It just looks fairly complicated, but it's very simple. So if you look at the bottom, you'll see it goes from level 1, 2, 3, 4 to 5. So the stratified systems model actually has more numbers on it, but this one is sufficient because this one just entails everything. Okay, so level 1, if you get a score of 1 out of 5, it means that the person is on a very entry level in the organization. They're on a very lower level. They can see a problem, but they cannot solve the problem. So they would need a lot of training and development. Even we've often also assessed youngsters, but that's on a much higher level, but they're obviously entering into the organization, but then they are already on a higher level. So obviously they will, with that high cognitive ability, still grow through experience and all of that. But it is important to know that most people that enter on entry level, some of them may have a higher cognitive capacity, other people may not, but they even may have learning potential. So it's all going to depend on what it is that you're going to get. But often people on a level 1 can see a problem, they cannot solve it. On level 2, if a person gets a 2 out of a score of 5, it means that they're very comfortable working with technical operational complexity of work. So you will see that there's a lot of correlation between the COPAS and the CPP. It is slightly different because the COPAS do give you a little bit more about the actual reasoning capacity at the moment, Whereas the CBP will tell you the person is very comfortable with working with very technical operational stuff. They can be very intelligent, but they're comfortable over there. So that doesn't mean that their intelligence is lower. With a COPAS, it tells you they are comfortable with the complexity on that level. When you get a score of 3 out of 5, it means that I'm comfortable with the complexity of information on middle management level. So middle management, so now we're looking at department head, that sort of angle, but middle management will describe it very well. Level 4 means that I am very comfortable working with the complexity of information on executive level. So this is already very, very complex. Don't expect scores of 4s and 5s. Please don't even think about that. When you get scores of 3 around there, that's already very, very good, but it's going to depend incredibly much on what you require for your position. Okay, so 4 is executive level. 5 means very senior executive level. These people are usually almost exiting the workforce. So they are on a very, very senior executive level. So this is what is very important for you to know. If you do a skills audit, you know that you will have an organogram with a hierarchy of positions, and you will know that this bunch of positions has to at least have a score of 3 for this person to be successful. This bunch group of, say, job profiles needs to be on a level 4. We need executive level thinking over here, and over here we are fine if we get scores of 2s. Those people needs to get assessed, and we need to see then where their scores are. You won't interpret it too rigidly, because you're also going to look at things like experience, you're going to look at learning potential, you're going to look at the accuracy at which they completed the test. Sometimes people's scores is slightly lower, but they completed it with such accuracy that you know that they are touching on executive level thinking. So you don't want to be too rigid. You need to be experienced, and you need to get advice from people to interpret this for you. You don't want to make silly decisions just because you don't know how to interpret it 100%. All right, so when you get all your middle managers needs to at least get a score of 3, your executives a score of 4, and maybe your entry-level people a level of 1, and your operational people a level 2. What I have found in my experience is often people will tell me, this is my team, I have a problem with this one and that one. And then when we assess them, we can see that they're being placed in a quite complex position, but the cognitive reasoning is on a level a little bit lower. And this is really a problem across the board if you've got people in positions that's not on the level cognitively where they should be. It's a problem in government, it's a problem in private organizations in higher levels where people are supposed to be thinking on a level 4, they come out on a level 2 or 3. You cannot have a level 2 people in an executive level position. Your company will go down. Or even a level 3, they will already struggle with the demands of a level 4. So this is very, 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 very important. We see it in reality. People just don't know about it. We either do the research and scientific stuff behind the scenes, we can see it. Not everyone sees it and knows it. So please get your information, talk to psychologists, industrial psychologists, to get the correct information. Okay, so now I'm excited to show you what a skills match would look like. What would a skills audit look like? So remember, please feel free to share any questions. See, there's no questions yet. Please share any questions, any concerns or things that you're unaware of, that you don't know how it will work. Please share that with us. People mostly have the same concerns and questions. And remember, these things can also be sort of customized for you, for your company. Okay, so skills match. So this is sort of what we can start off with, is a key to show you the red block is a non-match. The candidate was a non-match with the position requirements. I know the wording is quite harsh, but now we're not playing around. We're actually doing a proper skills match for organization to either save it or to restructure it or whatever. Yellow would be functional in the position. That's good. That's fine. Don't think that functional is okay or average. It is fine. It's working very well. You can leave it as it is. So yellow is good. Blue means in a lower level position, but with higher level of cognitive capacity. So this person is in a level 3 position, but they came out as a 4. It doesn't mean you may need to make that person an executive now, but you can do things with them. You can give them more responsibility, more tasks, whatever. You can do something extra with them. And then the green would be just a high potential that can be developed to the next level. So it differs from the yellow block in the sense that I'm in a position 3, I got a score of 3, but I show that I can be developed to a level 4 given the right training and development. So we call it a high potential candidate. So the yellow, the blue, and the green are all good news. Don't think just the green is the green. No, the yellow, the blue, and the green is all good news for you. All right, let's look at a summary for this company, for example. Let me just get my camera out of the way here again. Okay, so this would be a summary how we will start off with this thing. So firstly, if you look at the top there, candidate 1, this is the position. So for example, this person is a national sales executive. We are telling this person that they should at least be on a level 4 of cognitive reasoning. So this is what the position requires. This is not what the candidate obtained. This is the requirement of the position. A specialist can also help you to plot this. Don't thumb suck it. Don't say to everyone, you know what, I want you all to be 4s, so let's just make it 4 so that we have a high functioning company. Don't do that. Get advice on if you look at your job description, you can also link it to your Patterson and your Peromnes, your salary benchmarks. This level can be linked to that. You don't have to thumb suck or think what you think it is. You can determine correctly on which level they should be. The level of education that this person has is a national diploma, and this is, for example, their scores. They got the current level is a 4, so they are currently on that executive level, and the future potential level for development is a 5, which is fantastic. So can you see that this person can even go higher? This is a very, very good score. Let's look at the second one. Tom testing 2, manager rotating machines. So this level, the requirement here in this example is a 4. This person also has got a national diploma. They got a 5 and a 5, which means that they are actually higher than what they should be. Let's look a little bit lower. He's, for example, an internal sales manager. They should be on level 3, and this candidate did obtain a level 3. And the future learning potential is also a 3, but that is fine. That means that the person is okay there where they are. Be very careful to not put people in an incredibly tight box just because that thing says 3, that this person is a 3 and that's it for them forever. Never look at it like that. You want to look at the performance. You want to look at the attitude. You want to look at other things as well. This is just an indication for you for right now in your business. You want to keep the person there. You can always retest people later. People can even, study on their own or through your company, whatever they can develop themselves. They can maybe later on do even better. But people can also prove themselves to you by taking on more responsibility and mastering it. But never put someone in a box and say, okay, it's no for you. Where you are at that's it for you. Be very careful of that because this is still just a test. You just don't want to be too rigid. You want to get advice. Let someone look at it for you because it also depends on how they completed their test. Were they very accurate and fast? Were they a little bit slower and fast, which means that, a little bit slower but extremely accurate. That means that if given more time, they may have been able to do better. So just once again, it's going to go back to how you interpret your test. Okay, so this is a very nice summary for the test result at the end of the day. So can you see that we plotted the person here? We plotted the person here on the stratified systems model. Can you see at the bottom here, you've got level 1, operational level, level 2, level 1 is pure operational. That's very entry, pure operational level. That is where your cleaning staff is, maybe some of your security staff or people like that. Level 2 would be operational. You're getting a little bit more technical there. Level 3 is operational. Now it's a little bit more tactical. So now you're getting a management component over here. Level 4, executive, senior executive is level 5. So you can plot all your people over here. You can see that the color coding helps in the sense that you can see that all the red people, let's look at the red blocks first. These people should have been on a level 3 according to the job description. If you look at the yellow blocks, these people are functional where they are. They're good where they are. They are good enough where they are. There's nothing wrong with them. They are functioning well. They should be doing pretty well. If you do have performance problems there, it's going to be an attitude thing. It's going to be something else. It may be something else that's coming out. The nice thing about a skills audit as well, if people are doing really well, but your performance output is not so great, it could be employee engagement or something else. So the skills audit can also give you clues in terms of other things that may be wrong. If you look at the greens, so remember I said to you that the green people, they are good in the position that they're at, but they can be developed over time to the next position. Also remember, people are not going to miraculously just develop themselves when you just leave them. They showed the learning potential. You need to actively do something about it. Well, you or them. It doesn't just rely on the employer. The employer is not the only one that's solely responsible for developing people and putting them through courses. But you can advise the candidate that even if you don't have formal training courses, perhaps the candidate themselves have always maybe considering some sort of qualification. They were just very hesitant. This could be the time to tell them that you actually do have the learning potential. You are actually on university level. You can actually develop if it is something that you want to do. So whether you do it or they do it, whether you do formal, informal training, coaching, whatever, something has to happen for the person to develop to the next level. Of course, experience is one of the contributing factors, but just know that something needs to happen in order for it to develop. In the blue block, that means the person is in a low-level position, but with high-level capacity. So, for example, if you look at this guy over here, in this example, the person, the job requirement was only on level 3, but they got a 4, and the future learning potential also shows a 4. But that's very, very good. It means that they're already over here. It means that they can deal with a little bit more complexity. And then overall, can you see that now this client in particular can see that 83% of these people are high potentials, they can be developed. Only 17% is not on the level that they should be. This also doesn't mean that you just want to remove people or get rid of them or whatever. It's going to give you some significant answers if you have problems in the company. It's going to all depend on things like your symptoms that you're experiencing, possibly in the organization or even with these individuals. Maybe some of the decision making or whatever wasn't as quick or good. It could be attributed to this, but very importantly, you want to look at the personality, those things as well. You don't want to just make your assumptions based on this. Also very important, I tested someone earlier, I think it was last week, we did a mini skills audit at a company, and someone came out extremely stressed, so stressed that we actually think of doing something, or just addressing it. And that could have influenced the cognitive results. So you just want to be aware of that as well. Especially in the time that we are also now, people are experiencing financial problems. There's also personal problems. There's the stress, I can tell you just in general, is much higher. Every time now when we test people just for recruitment or whatever, the stress levels and the negativity is through the roof, which is understandable. So just be mindful of that as well. Things are it's not where it should be right now at the moment, but that is also why you need to look at your company. All right, this is a team overview personality style. So this is an example of something that you can do so that you can just see your influencing styles, your leadership styles, and then can you see that here I go more towards efficiency at work, time management, reliability, accountability. Now, industrial psychologists, people like us, can help you develop a competency model for your organization and then also for each and every individual. So this is what a skills audit is about, is to have a competency model for every single position, maybe departmental competencies, and then a big overall organizational competency model. And it's going to depend on the type of business that you have, what is your focus, what is your strategy, what's your output, what is it that you want to give your clients. So get help with this. You can draft something like this. You want to make also sure that you've got your leadership competencies there, what everyone here in the middle should be adhering to, and then right at the bottom would be things like what everyone should be doing. So can you see that I go here from influencing sales leadership, and then I go more into a reliability, accountability, drive. There's strategic thinking. There's my focus, decision making. And then it goes down to interpersonal skills, stress management, all of that. So in this case, for this client, this match was actually really, really, really good. And it's really, you can see it's a broad overview. I didn't go into a lot of detail, but can you see here I've got a whole bunch of positions here on the right-hand side. Can you see that the influencing and communication for this whole entire company is bad? It's not that bad. It's not red. It's average. It's moderate. You can clearly think of what's going to be the consequences in this organization. And what we were looking at here is the managers. So if managers are more introverted or just quiet or not transparent or not outspoken or persuasive, luckily this is a fixable problem, but you need to know this before you continue. So you can really pick up patterns, but you can also pick up your strengths. Can you see this client also where the strategic thinking is not that strong, but the leadership, there's an intention of good leadership, but the leaders are not communicating well. You can really get a lot of answers out of this. Okay, so what I did here is break up even more into more detail. So here I made another little summary. The candidate, here is the position, this is the required level. So cognitively, I plotted them. So here you can see there's a lot of greens, a lot of yellows. There's just a few reds. So this is actually looking pretty good. And if you look at the strategic thinking, in this case, I remember that we focused on three big things, and that was strategic thinking, teamwork and EQ, and then sales orientation. So in this case, for this client, can you see that the sales orientation is very good? These people are good with sales, but as soon as they have to manage, it's not that strong. So they should be technically very good. Technically and with the sales, with pushing out the result, that's good. But managing the teams, the emotional intelligence, that is not so great. It's absolutely something that you can work on. All right, and then here right at the bottom is a sort of a summary of the findings. So here you can actually say 22% of employees are cognitively not on the recommended level for a given position. So the suggestion would be develop a personal development plan based on cognitive and behavioral profiles integrated with performance management. So here we just reiterate the performance management again. Let me look at the second one. So 78% were doing really well. So 30% of employees are functional in the current position. 24% is underutilized. 24%, the bottom one here, functioning well in the current position and can be developed to the next level. So this is actually great news for this client. Cognitively, almost everyone is very, very strong, and only the communication skills can be developed. That is very, very good news. And then the suggestion here for the 30% who are functional is develop a personal development plan based on cognitive and behavioral profile integrated with performance management and a behavioral profile to be considered for succession. So we do mainly almost the same for all of the green ones, because the green ones are just good news for us. And then the recommendations, development of an organizational and or departmental competency model and plot cognitive and behavioral results to identify the leadership style, the influencing styles, the team roles, technical and generic skills and competencies, cognitive work levels. Then you interpret the cognitive and behavioral results in terms of individual experience, performance, management information, specific role requirements. Do not forget the experience and the performance. Please do not forget those two. Don't only solely go on psychometric assessment. To ensure retention, succession planning success, determine employee engagement. with scientific, reliable. So this is some of the things that I told you that can come out of this. If you now suspect my people are actually very strong, why is my output not great, or the attitude's not great? It could be something else like employee engagement, or a structure or a flow or a process that doesn't work well. So you can get a lot of information out of this. And you also want to determine the implications for business. All right. I also want to just quickly let's look at the why. Why? The competency model will indicate the success determinants of the organization and departments, which is linked to the strategic goals. It will always speak to each other. You cannot have the one without. You cannot reach strategic goals if you don't know what you want and how you're going to get there. So this will allow the holistic integration of all relevant information. This will include the psychometric information combined with practical on-the-job information. Very important. The employee engagement survey will allow for the identification of organizational strengths and weaknesses, and allows for the opportunity to identify possible strengths and weaknesses that could affect the business in the long run. So you're just doing a thorough analysis of this whole thing from the start and then from there. But you need people to help you to interpret the results correctly and look at the detail. Do not miss any details in between. I just want to show you a big overall picture. This is something that we did for quite a large company, but this is a very broad overview. We did individual competency models, departmental models, and an organizational model, and we did a statistical analysis of each finding. But this was the bigger overview, absolutely based on what they should have, and this is how we matched it. This company, it was very, very interesting. The patterns were the same across the board, from the entry level one over here up to the executives. It was people orientation, fairness and integrity, team and co-responsibility. This is crazy, but this is what we found here. So you can absolutely see the patterns. And can you see for the lower level people, here you've got the stable performance, the work performance were not stable. And over here you can see the senior people don't influence people so that they can have better performance. You can get so much out of this. It is absolutely scary. So please send me some questions. Let me see what the time's like. So we've got another 9 minutes left, but I want you to share some of your questions. If you had any concerns or even questions just around to how to start, what to look at, what is it that you want to look at? That would be very, very important, because you will see that there's separate from the skills audits, we also have an employee engagement webinar that we sometimes do. All of these things are linked, but employee engagement looks a little bit deeper as to the feelings and emotions of people. Not just feelings and emotions, but do they have the things that they need to do the job? So very practical things as well. Okay, and there's a question here. Is skills audit the same as job profiling? So how the job profile will help the skills audit. It is absolutely interlinked, but it's not the same thing. So you need the job profile so that you can do a skills audit at the end of the day, because the job profile will determine on the absolute base level what is it that you need for each individual to do, so that the department can function well, and at the end of the day, the whole organization can function well. Those building blocks right at the bottom, which is the job profile, needs to be very well defined. You need to know exactly what it is that people need to do, and it must be tasks, but also behaviorally. You need people that's independent and self-reliant and accountable. What is it that you need from them in all those regards, also cognitively. And you can have that in your job profile. It's your whole job description. Then when you test someone with a psychometric test, even when you performance manage a person, it is going to be based on these building blocks. It needs to speak to each other. And then you can determine whether the person is doing well or not. So a performance management will, in a little bit more of a subjective way, tell you, are they doing what they're supposed to? But a skills audit is very scientific. That's going to tell you the cognitive ability is like this and that. The behavioral profile looks like this and that. They're fit or they're not a fit. Also remember, there's never a perfect fit because people are just people. You can never ever psychometrically test someone and ask for a perfect human being. It doesn't exist. Everyone has got their development areas and their strengths. So just keep in mind, you're not going to find that perfect person. You may find someone who's technically excellent, very intelligent, reliable, everything, but they just don't talk to other people, or they just don't manage well, or whatever. But some things you can live with and some things you can't. Determine what is your deal breakers, where you will say, I don't want that type of trait in my company. For example, if there's, say, let's take an example of a narcissistic type of attitude, or people that's very self-centered or selfish. You can decide that's not going to work in my business, because we really need to be very accommodating and helpful, amenable, empathic, and things like that. So you can determine your culture and what it is that you want to do. Then there's another question: for a small company of under 10 employees, where do you start? What would you say is the first step? Okay, so what I think you can do is you must determine what it is that you want to see from that. What is it that if you want to assess 10 people, what is it that you want to see? Because for a small company like that, I would suggest maybe about 3 assessments, definitely a cognitive and a personality. You can determine whether you want maybe a little bit more of the leadership styles or the team styles in it. So you can play in between of that, but definitely these 2 I would recommend. Then you would look at whether your job profiles are in place. Do you feel that they are complete? Do you feel that they are stipulating exactly what you need from your employees to reach your strategic goals? And what are your strategic goals? Are you feeling that you are stagnating? Do you feel there's some issues you're not really sure what they are? You want to sort them out. Your symptom can be really anything. And then you want to assess your people, and often you do get the skills information out of it, but you also sometimes pick up other things like patterns of other things that's a little bit scratchy, and then you can take it from there. Because with a process like this, every individual will also get a feedback report. It depends on who you do it with. We offer a personal feedback report with a whole PDP and development and feedback to the candidate, because they also need to know what's going on, because they can't really develop themselves if they don't know anything. But you will also, as the business owner and the business managers, they will also get a very big report on the whole performance. So that's what I think you want to do, is first see. So if I can answer it like this, first see what are your symptoms, what are your problems. And remember, this can be anything. It can be lack of sales, team issues, whatever. It can be anything. You jot that down, and from there on, you get someone to advise you on assessments that you can do. You do the assessment, you see the patterns, and patterns will come out. Patterns will come out. I can guarantee you that it's not like you're going to do a whole bunch of assessments and you find nothing and you've wasted time and money. It will come out. The strengths will come out. The development areas will come out. So for that question, for the small company of under 10 employees, I would firstly jot down my symptoms and then seek advice. And you're welcome to contact us to seek advice in terms of what must you do then, because we can advise you on what to do if we know what it is that you want to measure. I hope that gives you answer. If that isn't clear, please send me another message. But that is how I would start it. And then I would like to know, how do I score candidates correctly? So it would depend on if you are talking about performance management or if you're talking about psychometric testing. Psychometric testing takes care of itself. It's already perfectly put in place. But if you do performance management, you need to have a very solid objective benchmark that you can work on, where the employee can also participate and say how do they feel, and it must be a conversation that's two-way. Plus there must be, if someone is performance managed, they must know exactly what it is that's required of them, and they must be able to say, I did do it. So if I have to make 10 phone calls a day for cold calling, it's very easy that I make 10 phone calls, or didn't I? So But you want to take that performance information, although you know it's going to be a little bit subjective maybe, but you can combine it with psychometric assessments, because then you will know what the real true potential is. But remember, a skills audit is not a performance management system, but you can use the two together to determine who is who and who can give you what. So you want to do everything, but you want to make sure. Often when we do skills audits, our recommendation is get a decent performance management process in place. Make sure that your recruitment and selection processes are strictly adhered to, so that you don't employ people from, that doesn't really fit well and disrupts your team. So often after you've done the skills audit, we go back to those basic HR stuff and say, put a performance management in place, get your job profiles in place, make sure that the job profiles are very, very nicely defined, that people know exactly what to do and how to do it. So those basic HR things, this is your starting blocks. So once you know that those things are in place, you can actually then evaluate people. And then there's another question here. How do we accurately identify which training interventions must be organized for each employee? So that's going to depend on if you've done a skills audit that with psychometric testing, it's very, very easy. It's a little bit more difficult when you do a skills audit without a scientific instrument, because if you just do performance management and you talk about it, most employees are going to tell you, I want to do it and I'm eager, because no one is going to say no to something that you are paying for. That doesn't mean that they are really into it. If you do a psychometric assessment, you can see literally with a scientific tool what you should be doing. And you can predict what is the likelihood of success of them completing it, and completing it successfully with, actually passing it. But I would be careful of training interventions if I haven't used a psychometric instrument, because time and money. I've seen clients where we test people afterwards because they cannot understand how everyone just failed the MBAs, the half of them didn't finish, and it's just chaos. And then when we test them, we see that the attitude is bad. The cognitive is excellent cognitive ability, but the attitude is bad. So you need to know the motivation and the excitement of the person to want to do it, and then the cognitive ability of able to complete it. So it goes both ways. There's two things. Can they actually complete it cognitively, and do they actually want to? Some of my clients have lost thousands of rands with bursaries and actually paying for MBAs, and then people don't complete it. So how can I accurately identify training interventions? I wouldn't do it without a proper training. I would identify my people that's performing very, very well, and then I will test them. So I won't just test everyone. If I just want to do training, I won't just test anyone. I will do training with the people that I've identified as a high potential. But then again, then you need to see whether they actually want to. Remember, not everyone wants to be personally developed. We always think that people want to be personally developed and they want to grow and they're ambitious. That may be you. It's not necessarily the people that you're working with. So be very careful when you make those decisions. Be very realistic and very careful. People think differently. Any other questions? And please let me know if I answered your questions correctly, if I've given you sufficient information. I want to put my email on here. This is our contact details. If you want to just contact us, even if we can just do a quick conversation. If you just want to have some guidance in terms of what's going on in your company, what would you like to make better? What doesn't work? It doesn't mean that you're going to have to now go do things. Think about things first. Just think about things, gather information, learn a little bit more, see what it's all about, and then do your thing. You don't have to do anything drastic, but you're more than welcome to contact us. Keep in touch with the HR Talk. As well as myself, there may be future stress management webinars that's for free. And we also talk about just psychometric testing in general. That will also just teach you what to use. And there's another helpful one about employee engagement. So if you want to test it or measure it, what to look for. Don't just go for any survey or do whatever you feel like. Do your research properly, and you can ask us because we know. There's not a single instrument in this world that I don't know about, so I can probably answer you on anything. You're also welcome to contact me if you want example reports of what it can look like. What I showed you is really just a very, very brief overview. But you're welcome to contact me if you want to see more. All right, what's the time? Oh, it's 4 minutes past 10 already. So please take down my email address. If you want to talk about anything, you're more than welcome. Okay, and thank you for joining. And I'm glad it was helpful. So if there's no other questions, then I will see you in the next webinar.